Twitter und YouTube. Wir senden heute eine Ansprache des US-Präsidenten Donald Trump. Donald Trump äußert sich noch einmal nach Ende des Amtsenthebungsverfahrens gegen ihn bei einer groß angesetzten Rede im Weißen Haus. Im Moment haben die Gäste bereits Platz genommen. Der Präsident wird jeden Moment erwartet. Das sind die Bilder, die wir im Moment hier bekommen aus dem Weißen Haus. Es ist der East Room im Weißen Haus, wenn ich das richtig sehe. Und der Saal ist ziemlich voll, sehr viel Presse. Es geht zum Beispiel darum, dass Trump noch einmal erklärt, wie er den Ausgang dieses Amtsenthebungsverfahrens sieht. Gestern hatte der US-Senat den US-Präsidenten freigesprochen mit den Stimmen der Republikaner. Es ging um 2 Anklagepunkte. Der eine Anklagepunkt war Amtsmissbrauch, war ein Vorwurf. Der zweite Behinderungen des Kongress bei seiner Arbeit. Da ging es um die Aufklärungsarbeit in der Ukraine-Affäre und der Vorwurf der Behinderung. Auch da sehen die Republikaner keine Schuld beim Präsidenten. Die Demokraten natürlich haben für eine Amtsenthebung gestimmt. Es gibt eine Ausnahme dabei, das ist ein Senator aus Utah, Mitt Romney. Der wollte auch einmal Präsident werden, ist mittlerweile Senator für den Bundesstaat Utah. Und er hatte zumindest beim Punkt Amtsmissbrauch mit den Demokraten gestimmt. Soweit der Ausgang. Die Reaktionen hier in Washington darauf natürlich sehr, sehr unterschiedlich. Die Demokraten hatten in der Früh noch einmal deutlich gemacht, dass sie der Meinung sind, auch wenn der Präsident freigesprochen worden ist, bedeutet das nicht, dass er unschuldig sei. Die Sprecherin des Repräsentantenhauses Pelosi hatte auf einer Pressekonferenz vor wenigen Minuten noch einmal gesagt, der Präsident bleibe für immer impeached, das Impeachment bleibe an ihm hängen, auch wenn er freigesprochen ist von den Anklagepunkten. Die Republikaner sehen es naturgemäß ganz anders. Hier sind die Stimmen eindeutig. Es gebe keine Beweise für ein Fehlverhalten des Präsidenten. Deswegen hätte man ihn freigesprochen. Auf der anderen Seite gibt es einzelne Senatoren, die in den vergangenen Tagen durchaus gesagt haben, dass sie der Meinung sind, der Präsident habe sich falsch verhalten. Und dieses falsche Verhalten würde aber nicht rechtfertigen, ihn des Amtes zu entheben. Präsident Trump hat in der Früh noch einmal bei einer Pressekonferenz und einer Veranstaltung einer christlichen Gruppe Zeitungen nach oben gehalten. Und auf diesen Zeitungen waren groß zu sehen, freigesprochen. Also daran kann man auch erkennen, dass es dem Präsidenten sehr wichtig ist, dass es diesen Ausgang genommen hat. Und er hat den Republikanern gedankt dafür, dass sie eine richtige Entscheidung getroffen haben. Genaueres Details werden wir jetzt gleich noch mal erleben, wenn der Präsident dort im Weißen Haus eine Erklärung zum Amtsenthebungsverfahren und zum Ende sozusagen der Ukraine-Affäre abgibt, zum vorläufigen Ende, muss man sagen. Denn natürlich wird das Thema weiter Politiker in Amerika beschäftigen, sowohl Demokraten als auch Republikaner. In Amerika ist bereits Wahlkampf. Hier wird der Präsident im November neu gewählt. Und beide Seiten positionieren sich schon sehr, sehr stark. Und das Thema Impeachment, Ukraine-Affäre, ist eines der Themen, mit denen beide Seiten versuchen, ihre Basis zu mobilisieren. Denn darum geht es im Kern. Es geht nicht ums Überzeugen, sondern es geht darum, die eigene Basis an die Wahlurne zu bringen. Und das geht zum Beispiel mit einem sehr kontroversen Thema wie dem Impeachment. In den vergangenen Wochen ist immer wieder der Eindruck entstanden, dass das Thema sehr stark in Washington spielt, aber nicht im Rest des Landes. Und der Eindruck ist sicher nicht falsch. Die Menschen außerhalb des sogenannten Beltways, also außerhalb des inneren Kreises von Washington, haben durchaus auch andere Sorgen, haben es nicht in der Intensität verfolgt, wie das hier von Politikern gemacht wurde in Washington selber. Wir gucken schnell noch mal ins Weiße Haus rüber. Dort steht ein Rednerpult mit dem Siegel des Präsidenten, Fahnen. Man sieht die Gäste, die sich bereits hingesetzt haben, auf den Präsidenten warten. Sehr viele Kamerateams im Hintergrund. Es ist in irgendeiner Form auch ein offizieller Abschluss für die vergangenen 4 Monate. Wir können noch mal kurz zurückschauen, was eigentlich passiert ist. Am 25. September 2019 sah sich das Weiße Haus gezwungen, ein Transkript eines Telefonats zwischen US-Präsident Trump und dem ukrainischen Präsidenten Zelensky herauszugeben. Das waren Auszüge aus diesem Telefonat. Vorher gab es bereits Berichte, dass das Weiße Haus Militärhilfe für die Ukraine zurückhält, Militärhilfe, die der Kongress bereits bewilligt hatte. Und es gab Berichte über einen sogenannten Whistleblower, einen Tippgeber, der einen Bericht zusammengefasst hatte und in dem Bericht darauf hinweist, dass in diesem Telefonat zwischen Trump und Zelensky Worte und Dinge gefallen sind, die er nicht für richtig hält. Das gibt ein Gesetz in den USA, dass intern solche Hinweise gegeben werden können, denen muss nachgegeben werden. Und die Demokraten haben dann die Frage gestellt, warum ist das Justizministerium nicht in der Form, wie man sich das vorgestellt hätte, von demokratischer Seite diesen Hinweisen nachgegangen. Und der zweite Schritt waren dann tatsächlich schon Ermittlungen, Untersuchungen zu einem möglichen Impeachment-Verfahren. Das war eine Entscheidung der Demokraten und eine Entscheidung gegen die Republikaner. Die haben das nicht mitgetragen. Die ersten Untersuchungen fanden dann im sogenannten Geheimdienstausschuss des Repräsentantenhauses statt. Der Name, der hier immer wieder fällt, ist der Ausschussvorsitzende Adam Schiff. Die ersten Untersuchungen, Zeugenanhörungen und Einsicht in Dokumente, all das war am Anfang nicht öffentlich, geheim, aber unter Beteiligung der Republikaner zu jeder Zeit, denn in diesem Ausschuss sitzen Demokraten und Republikaner. Der zweite Schritt dann waren öffentliche Anhörungen. Es wurden Zeugen, die vorher schon einmal geladen waren, noch einmal gehört. Dabei ging es den Demokraten vor allem darum, der Öffentlichkeit deutlich zu machen, dass ihrer Meinung nach hier ein Fehlverhalten des Präsidenten vorliegt. Und Adam Schiff hatte sehr deutlich gesagt, was die Demokraten beweisen wollen, nämlich, dass der Präsident gegen seinen Amtseid verstoßen hat. In der weiteren Folge gab es dann Anhörungen im sogenannten Justizausschuss oder im Justizausschuss. Da gab es die Möglichkeit für die Anwälte des Präsidenten auch Aussagen zu machen. Sie haben das abgelehnt, weil sie der Meinung sind, das Verfahren war grundsätzlich unfair. Zu dem Zeitpunkt hatte das Weiße Haus, die Anwälte im Weißen Haus hatten entschieden, dass man keine Zeugen zur Verfügung stellt und auch keine weiteren Dokumente. Und das wiederum war dann der Vorwurf der Demokraten an das Weiße Haus und den Präsidenten, dass er die Arbeit des Kongresses behindert. Denn in der Verfassung ist vorgesehen, dass der Kongress den Präsidenten kontrollieren kann, die Arbeit des Präsidenten. Und wenn nicht genügend Dokumente und Zeugen zur Verfügung stellen, dann, so die Demokraten, kann der Kongress seiner Aufgabe nicht nachkommen. Und daraus wurde dann der zweite Anklagepunkt, nämlich Behinderung des Kongresses. Diese Anklagepunkte sind formuliert worden im Justizausschuss. Dann die Abstimmung kam kurz vor Weihnachten hier in Washington im Repräsentantenhaus. Interessant dabei, die Demokraten haben für die Anklagepunkte gestimmt, aber eben nicht alle. Es gab einzelne Abweichler. Die Republikaner haben geschlossen dagegen gestimmt. Der nächste Schritt war dann, den gesamten Prozess zu überstellen an den Senat. Das fand im neuen Jahr statt. Das war eine Zeremonie, in der sogenannte Vertreter der Anklage aus dem Repräsentantenhaus hinübergegangen sind in den Senat und dort ihre Anklagepunkte vorgestellt haben. Die wurden entgegengenommen und damit begann dann der eigentliche Prozess des Amtsenthebungsverfahrens, das gestern seinen Abschluss gefunden hat. Nochmal der Blick rüber ins Weiße Haus. Wir warten nach wie vor auf den Präsidenten. Angekündigt war die Pressekonferenz für 18 Uhr. Und es ist ganz normal, dass sich sowas immer wieder hier in Washington verzögert. Da gibt es dann noch Möglichkeiten, ein letztes Mal womöglich über das Redemanuskript zu gehen oder zum Beispiel noch einmal ein Gespräch zu suchen mit Vertrauten. Ganz vorne sehen wir Vertreter der Republikaner auf der rechten Seite im Moment, die der gesamten Erklärung beiwohnen. Ich kann im Moment noch nicht erkennen, ob es auch Vertreter der Demokraten sind, die bei dieser Erklärung dabei sind. Die gesamte Entscheidung ist ja entlang von Parteilinien getroffen worden. Und interessant in dem Zusammenhang ist vielleicht nochmal die Figur von Mitt Romney. Das ist der Senator, der gestern in einem Punkt für die Anklage gestimmt hat, und zwar für die Anklage im Punkt Amtsmissbrauch. Er sah es als erwiesen an, dass der Präsident sein Amt missbraucht hat, und zwar in dem Punkt, dass der Präsident die Ukraine aufgefordert hatte, Ermittlungen anzustellen oder Ermittlungen anzukündigen gegen einen politischen Kontrahenten. Das ist der frühere Vizepräsident Joe Biden und dessen Sohn Hunter. Vorwürfe der Korruption kamen da immer wieder auf von Seiten der Trump-Administration. Und in dem Punkt habe der Präsident seinen persönlichen Vorteil über den des Landes gestellt und die nationale Sicherheit gefährdet. Und da folgte Romney der Argumentation der Demokraten. Das ist interessant. Denn Romney kommt aus einem besonderen Bundesstaat, Utah. Dort hat die Gemeinschaft der Mormonen eine große Mehrheit nach wie vor. Über 50% der Einwohner in Utah gehören dieser Kirche an. Und die haben durchaus Probleme mit dem Präsidenten schon immer gehabt. Die sind keine unbedingten Trump-Anhänger. Sie haben bei der Wahl 2016 einen eigenen Präsidentschaftskandidaten aufgestellt, einfach um weder für Hillary Clinton noch für Donald Trump stimmen zu müssen, sondern ein eigener Kandidat. Und zum Teil findet Romney bei diesen Wählern Unterstützung für seinen Kurs, dass er also den Präsidenten kritisiert. Aber, das war eben aus Utah zu hören, es gibt auch große Kritik an ihm, an seiner Entscheidung, in dem Punkt mit den Demokraten zu stimmen. Es gibt eine Facebook-Gruppe zum Beispiel, die verlangt, dass Romney aus Washington als Senator wieder abgezogen wird. Das ist die Frage, ob das überhaupt in der Form möglich ist. Die Senatoren sind immer für 6 Jahre gewählt und Romney ist in einer sehr komfortablen Position, ist erst 2018 gewählt worden. Das heißt, seine Wiederwahl steht frühestens 2024 an und das ist dann erst bei der übernächsten Präsidentenwahl. Das heißt, auch hier spielt politisches Kalkül immer eine Rolle. Er geht keine große Gefahr ein, dass die Konsequenzen unmittelbar sind für sein Amt als Senator. Die Konsequenzen für ihn als Politiker innerhalb der Reihen der Republikaner, die werden durchaus spürbar sein. Präsident Trump hatte am Morgen erklärt, die Begründung, die Romney gegeben hatte, nämlich mit seinem Glauben, das sei keine Begründung, die er in der Form akzeptieren könnte und Romney habe etwas Falsches getan. Auch darauf wird der Präsident wahrscheinlich gleich nochmal in seiner Rede eingehen, wenn er sich hier im Weißen Haus erklärt zum Ende des Amtsenthebungsverfahrens. Noch mal ganz kurz, wo wir sind in Washington. Wir warten auf US-Präsident Trump, der in wenigen Minuten im Weißen Haus eine Ansprache geben möchte. Es geht um das Ende des Amtsenthebungsverfahrens, ein Schlusspunkt unter die sogenannte Ukraine-Affäre, zumindest ein vorläufiger Schlusspunkt, denn das Thema wird sowohl Demokraten als auch Republikaner weiter im Wahlkampf beschäftigen. Der Blick ins Weiße Haus verrät, dass der Präsident immer noch nicht da ist. Ist für uns vielleicht einfach noch mal die Möglichkeit, darauf einzugehen, was insgesamt im Moment hier in den letzten Tagen passiert ist. Ein Bild, das durch Social Media ja wirklich rauf und runter gegangen ist, ist eines von der State of the Union von Präsident Trump. Als er seine Rede beendet hatte, hatte die Sprecherin des Repräsentantenhauses Pelosi hinter ihm ein Redemanuskript seiner State of the Union genommen, das der Präsident traditionell der Sprecherin vor seiner Rede überreicht. Dieses Redemanuskript genommen und es zerrissen, demonstrativ mit der Begründung, die Rede sei voller Lügen gewesen und sei spaltend gewesen. Ein Symbol, vor allem jeder an die eigene Basis, die das womöglich gutiert und sagt, dass die Sprecherin des Repräsentantenhauses hier eindeutig Position bezogen hat. Aber natürlich auch ein Symbol, das zeigt, auf welchem Niveau hier mittlerweile die Konfrontation ausgetragen wird zwischen Republikanern und Demokraten, zwischen der Führung im Repräsentantenhaus mit Pelosi und US-Präsident Trump. Beide müssten eigentlich miteinander zusammenarbeiten, zum Beispiel bei Gesetzesinitiativen. Es ist aber auch bekannt geworden, dass beide Seiten seit 4 Monaten nicht mehr miteinander gesprochen haben. Also alles sehr verhärtet, sehr stark. Und in dieser Situation wird der Präsident gleich sprechen. Wir können in der Zwischenzeit einfach mal Fragen beantworten, wenn ihr immer welche habt, solange wir noch auf den Präsidenten warten. Ich habe so ein bisschen das Thema umrissen, wo wir gerade stehen beim Amtsenthebungsverfahren, aber eben auch in der politischen Situation in Washington. Wenn es Fragen dazu gibt, werde ich versuchen, in der Zwischenzeit, solange der Präsident noch nicht am Rednerpult steht, sie zu beantworten. Macht sicher Sinn, beim Präsidenten noch mal zuzuhören, was er heute zu sagen hat zu diesem Verfahren und eben zu diesem Schlusspunkt, den er da eindeutig sieht und ziehen möchte. Und dementsprechend haben wir jetzt kurz vorher, bevor er redet, noch die Möglichkeit, ein paar Fragen zu beantworten. In Washington wird dieses Thema natürlich vor allen Dingen durch die großen Nachrichtenkanäle besetzt. Weiter draußen im Land, wenn man nach Utah schaut oder zum Beispiel auch nach Wisconsin, da gibt es dann immer noch ganz, ganz andere Themen und die Leute schauen mit ein bisschen belächelnd auch nach Washington, weil für ihren Alltag hat das nicht unbedingt die Bedeutung. Die Entscheidungen, zu welcher Partei man sich zählt, auf welche Richtung man geht, sind meist gefallen. Die Unsicherheiten darüber, was der Politikbetrieb in Washington im Moment für einen persönlich bedeutet, sind sehr groß. Es gibt überzeugte Demokraten, es gibt überzeugte Republikaner, aber es gibt auch eine große Gruppe von Menschen, die überlegen, ob sie sich nicht als Unabhängige eintragen lassen. und dementsprechend keiner Partei mehr zugehörig sind, einfach weil der Frust über das, was hier im Moment nicht funktioniert in Washington, im Rest des Landes auch wahnsinnig groß ist. Noch einmal herzlich willkommen. Das sind die Kanäle von Tagesschau auf YouTube, Facebook und Twitter. Wir übertragen eine Rede von US-Präsident Trump, wenn er dann im Weißen Haus ans Rednerpult trifft. Im Moment warten wir und die Gäste dort gespannt auf den Präsidenten. Anlass ist im Moment das Ende des Amtsenthebungsverfahrens. Und es gibt eine erste Frage. Die Frage ist, was hat das Ende dieses Verfahrens, welche Auswirkungen hat das auf die nächste Wahl? Das ist die Frage, die am meisten im Moment hier diskutiert wird. Und beide Seiten versuchen, aus diesem Ende des Amtsenthebungsverfahrens und aus dem Ausgang Kapital zu schlagen für die eigenen Wähler damit zu mobilisieren. Die Argumentation der Republikaner ist, dass die Demokraten von Anfang an etwas getan haben, was nicht korrekt ist, dass sie die Verfassung beschädigt haben, dass sie den Prozess des sogenannten Impeachments beschädigt haben und dass sie damit dem Land einen Schaden zugefügt haben. Und damit müssten die Republikaner, die Anhänger der Republikaner, eindeutig bei der nächsten Wahl sich wieder für Trump entscheiden, um den Demokraten eine Absage zu erteilen. Natürlich, die Demokraten sehen es ganz anders und sie mobilisieren ihre Wähler, indem sie sagen, wir haben alles getan, um diesen Präsidenten zur Verantwortung zu ziehen für ein Vergehen, was wir, die Demokraten, der Meinung sind, ist ein Verstoß gegen die Verfassung. Es hat nichts genützt, weil die Republikaner nach wie vor den Präsidenten decken, so argumentieren die Demokraten. Und deswegen ist es eben wichtig, dass wir, oder die Demokraten sagen, dass die demokratischen Wähler im November gegen Trump entscheiden und alle zur Wahl gehen. Zweite Frage im Moment. Was ist die Stimmung bei den Bürgern, ist die Frage, die wir auch noch bekommen haben. Es ist sehr schwierig einzuschätzen, weil es eben einen sehr starken Unterschied und ein starkes Gefälle innerhalb des Landes gibt. Es gibt Leute, die das gar nicht mehr verfolgen. Das ist meine Erfahrung, zum Beispiel aus Utah, aus dem vergangenen Monat, dass Menschen wirklich gar nicht mehr verfolgen, was in Washington eigentlich passiert, weil es für sie keine Bedeutung hat. Und andere sind ganz fest eingeschworen auf die Parteilinie, die sie haben, entweder republikanisch oder demokratisch. Ich glaube schon, dass es eine Bedeutung hat für die meisten Menschen im Sinne von, das hat etwas gebracht oder das hat uns nichts gebracht. Und das könnte Bedeutung haben für die Wahl, aber unmittelbar in den kommenden Tagen hat es keine politische Bedeutung für die, sondern diese Bedeutung spielt in Washington. In den Bildern, die wir jetzt sehen aus dem Weißen Haus, konnten wir erkennen, zum einen, dass die Verteidiger gekommen sind des Präsidenten, diejenigen, die ihn im Senat verteidigt haben. Da sehen wir die Anwälte des Präsidenten, die Kamera fährt gerade drauf zu. Das sind die Menschen, die argumentiert haben, der Präsident habe überhaupt nicht gegen die Verfassung verstoßen. Und wenn der Präsident im eigenen Interesse handelt, dann sei es auch im Interesse des Landes. Das ist eine Argumentation von Trumps Anwalt Dershowitz gewesen. Und Dershowitz hat diese Argumentation sehr populär gemacht, sodass viele Amerikaner der republikanischen Seite das immer wieder aufgreifen konnten und wiederholt haben. Die Türen gehen auf. Es gibt Musik und die Leute stehen im Saal auf. Die Ankündigung des Präsidenten der Vereinigten Staaten. Aus der linken Seite kommt US-Präsident Trump aufs Rednerpult zu, im Weißen Haus das Ganze. Applaus für ihn im Moment. Und es geht hier gerade die First Lady zu sehen, die durchs Bild schreitet. Es geht um eine Ansprache nach Ende des Amtsenthebungsverfahrens im US-Senat. Und wir hören uns gleich nochmal dann auch wieder mit Fragen.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Wow. We've all been through a lot together.
And we probably deserve that hand for all of us because it's been a very unfair situation. I invited some of our very good friends, and we have limited room, but everybody wanted to come. We kept it down to a minimum, and believe it or not, this is a minimum. But a tremendous thing was done over the last number of months, but really, if you go back to it, over the last number of years, we had the witch hunt. It started from the day we came down the elevator, myself and our future First Lady, who's with us right now. Thank you, Melania. And it never really stopped. We've been going through this now for over 3 years. It was evil, it was corrupt, it was dirty cops, it was leakers and liars. And this should never, ever happen to another president, ever. I don't know that other presidents would have been able to take it. Some people said no, they wouldn't have. But I can tell you, at a minimum, you have to focus on this because it can get away very quickly. No matter who you have with you, it can get away very quickly. It was a disgrace. Had I not fired James Comey, who was a disaster, by the way, it's possible I wouldn't even be standing here right now. We caught him in the act. Dirty cops, bad people. If this happened to President Obama, a lot of people would have been in jail for a long time already, many, many years. I want to start by thanking some of, and I call them friends, because, you know, you develop friendships and relationships when you're in battle and war, much more so than, gee, let's have a normal situation. With all that we've gone through, we've done, I think, more than any president and administration. And really, I say, for the most part, Republican congressmen, congresswomen, and Republican senators. We've done more than any administration in the first few years. You look at all of the things we've done. I watched this morning as they tried to take credit for the stock market from, think of that. Let me tell you, if we didn't win, the stock market would have crashed. And the market was going up a lot before the election because it was looking like we had a good chance to win, and then went up tremendously from the time we won the election till the time we took office, which was November 8th to January 20th. And that's our credit, that's all our credit. And leading up to that point was our credit because there was hope. And one of the reasons the stock market's gone up so much in the last few days is people think we're doing so well. They liked the State of the Union speech. It really is. It's a true honor to give it. Making the State of the Union speech, I was with some people that have been around. They've been all over the world. And one of them said, highly sophisticated person, said, you know, no matter where you go in the world, it doesn't make any difference. There is nothing like what I witnessed tonight. The beauty, the majesty of the chamber, the power of the United States, the power of the people in this room. Really an amazing, even I don't think there is anything like that anywhere in the world. You can go to any other country, you can go to any other location, any other place. It's the beauty of everything. It's what it represents and how it represents our country. I want to start by introducing some of the people that are here. I know some are going to be left out, but they work so hard. And this is really not a news conference. It's not a speech. It's not anything. It's just we're sort of, it's a celebration because we have something that just worked out. I mean, it worked out. We went through hell unfairly, did nothing wrong, did nothing wrong. I've done things wrong in my life, I will admit. Not purposely, but I've done things wrong. But this is what the end result is. So you can take that home, honey. Maybe we'll frame it. It's the only good headline I've ever had in the Washington Post. I tell you. But every paper is the same. Does anybody have those papers? Does anybody have them? Because they're really like that, so I appreciate that. But some of the people here have been incredible warriors. They're warriors. And there's nothing from a legal standpoint. This is a political thing. And every time I'd say, this is unfair, let's go to court, they say, sir, you can't go to court. This is politics. And we were treated unbelievably unfairly. And you have to understand, we first went through Russia. It was all bullshit. We then went through the Mueller report. And they should have come back one day later. They didn't. They came back 2 years later, after lives were ruined, after people went bankrupt, after people lost all their money. People came to Washington to help other people. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I say. They came, 1 or 2 or 3 people in particular, but many people. We had a rough campaign. It was nasty. It was one of the nastiest, they say. They say Andrew Jackson was always the nastiest campaign. They actually said we topped it. It was a nasty both in the primaries and in the election. But you see, we thought after the election it would stop, but it didn't stop. It just started. And tremendous corruption. So we had a campaign. Little did we know we were running against some very, very bad and evil people with fake dossiers, with all of these horrible, dirty cops that took these dossiers and did bad things. They knew all about it. The FISA courts should be ashamed of themselves. It's a very tough thing. And then we ended up winning on Russia. It should have taken the one day, as I said, and it took years. Then Bob Mueller testified. That didn't work out so well for the other side. But they should have said that first week, because it came out. Is that right, Jim Jordan? They knew in the first 2 days, actually. Devin, is that right? 2 days, they knew that we were totally innocent. But they kept it going, Mark. They kept it going forever. Because they wanted to inflict political pain on somebody that had just won an election that to a lot of people was surprised. I mean, we had polls that said we were going to win. We had Los Angeles Times, and a few papers actually said we were going to win, but it was going to be close. And we did win. It was one of the greatest wins of all time, and they said, okay, he won. And you know, I wrote this down because that was where a thing called the insurance policy, to me, when I saw the insurance policy, and that was done long before the election. That was done when they thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And by the way, Hillary Clinton and the DNC paid for millions of dollars, the fake dossier. And now Christopher Steele admits that it's a fake because he got sued by rich people. I should have sued him too, but when you're president, people don't like suing. I want to thank my legal team, by the way, not for that advice, but for other advice. Pat, Jay, Pat, you guys stand up, please. Great job. Right at the beginning, they said, sir, you have nothing to worry about. All of the facts are on your side. I said, you don't understand. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. And that was really true. They made up facts. A corrupt politician named Adam Schiff made up my statement to the Ukrainian president. He brought it out of thin air, just made it up. They say he's a screenwriter, a failed screenwriter. He tried to go into, unfortunately, he went into politics after that. Remember, he said the statement, which is a mob statement, don't call me, I'll call you. I didn't say that. Fortunately, for all of us here today and for our country, we had transcripts. We had transcribers, professional transcribers. Then they said, oh, well, maybe the transcription is not correct. But Lieutenant Colonel Vindman and his twin brother, right? We had some people that really amazing. But we did everything. We said, what's wrong with it? Well, they didn't add this word or that. It didn't matter. I said, add it. They're probably wrong, but add it. So now everyone agrees that they were perfectly accurate. When you read those transcripts, Tim Scott, I don't know if Tim's here, but he said, sir, he's the first one to call me. Sir, I read the transcript. You did nothing wrong. And Mitch, he stayed there right from the beginning. He never changed. And Mitch McConnell, I want to tell you, you did a fantastic job. Somebody said, you know, Mitch is quiet. And I said, he's not quiet. He's not quiet. He doesn't want people to know him. And they said, is Mitch smart? I said, well, let's put it this way. For many, many years, a lot of very smart, bad in many cases, sometimes good, but people have been trying to take his place. And to the best of my knowledge, I've never even heard the subject come up because they've been wiped out so fast. This guy is great, and I appreciate it, Mitch. And he's also given us 191 now. 191 federal judges, 2 Supreme Court judges, right? We're up to 191. Yeah. Great guy. Great guy. He's a tough guy to read. I'm good at reading people. Tough guy to read, I'd call him. My wife would say, how'd you do with Mitch? I don't know. That's what makes him good, when you can read somebody. Fantastic job. And he understood right from this was crooked politics. This was crooked politics. How about all these people? They're running for office. They're saying the worst things about me, like 8 senators on the Democrat side. Most of them got wiped out. You know, they got their 1% or less. Most of them got less. They decided to go home. Let's go back to California. Let's go back to wherever they came from. Let's go back to New York. How about that one? Our New York Senator, Gillibrand. Let's go back to New York after they get nothing. And then they take an oath that they will be fair, that they will be reasonable, you know, all of the different things, and they had to sign. They're not fair, but here's the beauty. So we have 4 left. They're saying the most horrendous things about me. It's okay, it's politics. And then they're supposed to vote on me. They're trying to replace me, and then they're supposed to be voting. So I think it's incredible. But so Mitch, I want to thank you very much, incredible. And you have some of your folks here. And they're incredible people, and they've been right from the beginning. And again, you're out of session. Unfortunately, I only told these folks, let's do this today. We did a prayer breakfast this morning, and I thought that was really good. In fact, that was so good it might wipe this out. But by the time we finish, this will wipe that one out, those statements. I had Nancy Pelosi sitting 4 seats away, and I'm saying things that a lot of people wouldn't have said, but I meant every word of it. But we have some of the folks that are going to be leaving right after this, and they work hard, and they did work hard. Bill Cassidy, Senator. Stand up, Bill. What a guy. Great man. When I need to know about health insurance and pre-existing conditions and individual mandates, I call Bill, or I call Barrasso. We get those 2 guys, they know more than anybody. A man who just became a senator. He's a little bit like me. We have a couple of them. Very successful guy in business, and he said, what the hell? I'll run for the Senate from Indiana. And he ran, and I saw him on television destroying his opponent in a debate. I said, you know, this guy could win, and I got behind him. And Mike Braun, you have done some great job. Thank you very much. Tough. Tough. Thank you. A man who got James Comey to choke, and he was just talking in his regular voice. He's the roughest man. He's actually unbelievable, and I appreciate the letter you sent me today. I just got it. But he's got this voice that scares people. You know, people from Iowa can be very tough. We're doing very well in Iowa, but I'll tell you, Chuck Grassley, he's looking at Comey, well, you tell me, what did you say? Now, he wasn't being rough. That was just the way he talked. And that was when Comey, I think that was when Comey announced that he was leaking, lying, and everything else, right? He choked because he never heard anybody talk like that. You know, you should have gone, I wish you got angry. You could have gotten the whole ball game. He would have said, I give up. Chuck Grassley is an incredible guy. And a man who, you know, he was running against a tough, smart campaigner. We learned out how good she was, right? She was a great campaigner. In fact, by the end of the campaign, she was actually, I thought she was more for me than you were, Josh. I was worried. I saw her ads. She was saying the greatest things about me. And you know who I'm talking about? And I went to a great place, Missouri, and I said, who do you have to beat her? And they said, well, we have 4 people. I said, let me see them. I got to interview people. Can you imagine? I'm interviewing people for the United States Senate. This is what I do. Where have I gone? But I love it. I love it because we're getting great people. The first one I met was Josh Hawley. After about 10 minutes, I said to the people, don't show me anybody else. This is the guy. He was the Attorney General, did a phenomenal job in the state, highly respected. And Claire McCaskill. So the theory was you couldn't beat her. Great campaigner. Remember the last campaign? She was going to be taken. She was always going to be taken out, and she wins. And people say, how did that happen? Didn't happen with him. But she got so friendly toward me. In fact, one of the ads I still have, I'm putting it in the archives as one of the best ads I've ever made. And she tried to convince people that we were best friends. But Josh ended up winning by 5 or 6 points. You were unbelievable. You were tough. And you are something. And one of the greatest supporters on the impeachment hoax was Josh Hawley. He was incensed, actually. I watched him. He was incensed at what they were doing and what they were saying. And those were the ones. You know, I had some that said, oh, I wish he didn't make the call. And that's okay. If they need that, it's incorrect. It's totally incorrect. And then you have some that used religion as a crutch. They never used it before. An article written today, never heard him use it before. But today, you know, it's one of those things. But, you know, it's a failed presidential candidate, so things can happen when you fail so badly running for president. But Josh Hawley, I want to thank you. You were right from the beginning. Man, did I make a good choice. Thank you, Jeff. Tremendous future. A man who is brilliant and who actually was deceived to an extent. Comes from a great state, Utah, where my poll numbers have gone through the roof, and one of the senators' poll numbers, and not this one, went down big. You saw that? You saw that, Mike? But Mike Lee is a brilliant guy. He's difficult. Whenever I sign bills, you know, we do sign a lot of legislation it's big and it's powerful, but it's sort of everybody has to approve it. And I see 99 to 1. 99 to 1. I say, don't tell me who's the one. Is it Mike? Yes. And he always has a good reason for it, too, by the way. But he's incredible. And right at the beginning, he knew we were right, Mike. And I appreciate it very much. You're just fantastic. And say hello to the people of Utah. and tell him, I'm sorry about Mitt Romney. I'm sorry. Okay? We can say that Mike Lee is by far the most popular senator from the state. But you've done a fantastic job, Mike, in many ways. In many ways. A young woman who I didn't know at all, but she's been so supportive, and I've had great support from other people in that state, and she's been so supportive, and she's been downright nasty and mean about the unfairness to the president. And Kelly Loeffler, I appreciate very much. Thank you. Great. She saw it very early on. And we have, I don't know if we have other senators here, but we got a hell of a lot of congressmen. I'll go over them quickly, but they have also been, you know, it helped when we won 197 to nothing. That's got to be a first, Kevin, right? Is that like a first? The Republicans have this image. See, I say Democrats are lousy politicians because they have lousy policy. Open borders, sanctuary cities, they have horrible policy. Who the hell can win? Oh, their new policy is raise taxes. They want to raise taxes. You know, all my life I wasn't in politics, but I'd say, if you're a politician, you want to say, we're going to lower taxes. They want to raise taxes. So they have open borders, sanctuary cities, raise everybody's taxes, get rid of everybody's health care, 180 million people in the United States, and they're really happy. And we're going to give you a health care that's going to cost more money than the country could make in 30 years if it really does well. That's 1 year. So I've always said they're lousy politicians, but they do two things. They're vicious and mean. Vicious. These people are vicious. Adam Schiff is a vicious, horrible person. Nancy Pelosi is a horrible person. And she wanted to impeach a long time ago when she said, I pray for the president. I pray for the president. She doesn't pray. She may pray, but she prays for the opposite. But I doubt she prays at all. And these are vicious people. But they do two things. They stick together. Historically, I'm not talking now. They stick together like glue. That's how they impeached, because they had whatever the number is, 220 people. So if they don't lose anybody, they'll be able to impeach anybody. You could be George Washington. You could have just won the war, and they say, let's get him out of office. And they stuck together, and they're vicious as hell. And they'll probably come back for more, but maybe not, because the Republican Party's poll numbers, Mitch, have now gone up more than any time, I think, since 2004, 2005. And you know what happened then? But in normal times, decades, you would call it. That was a little unusual time. It was for a very short period. The Republicans Party's poll numbers and Donald Trump's poll numbers are the highest I've ever had there. So maybe they won't. It's no way to get your poll numbers up. It's not worth it. Because from my family standpoint, it's been very unfair for my family. It's been very unfair to the country. Think of it. A phone call. A very good phone call. I know bad phone calls. This is a phone call where many people, I think Mike Pompeo was probably on the call. Where's Mike? Mike Pompeo was on the call. Many people were on the call. I know that many people. They even have apprenti, bringing up an old favorite word of mine, the apprentice. They have apprenti. They have people on these calls. And I know there are many, when I speak to the head of a nation, and they have many people on. I mean, also, do you think they're just, in the case of Ukraine, he's a new president. He seems like a very nice person, by the way. His whole thing was corruption. He's going to stop corruption. We even have a treaty, 2001, 1999. It's a treaty, signed treaty, that we will work together to root out corruption in Ukraine. I probably have a legal obligation, Mr. Attorney, to report corruption. But they don't think it's corrupt when a son that made no money, that got thrown out of the military, that had no money at all, is working for $3 million up front, $83,000 a month, and that's only Ukraine. Then goes to China, picks up $1.5 billion. Then goes to Romania, I hear, and many other countries. They think that's okay. Because if it is Ivanka in the audience? Is Ivanka here? Boy, my kids could make a fortune. They could make a fortune. It's corrupt. But it's not even that. It's just general corruption. And the other thing is mentioned in the call, and something that I've told Mike Pence, our great vice president, I would tell him all the time. And I told him when he went on the trip, because he was over there. He never mentioned anything about this when you had your meeting. It's a terrible thing. But I told Mike, I said, Mike, we're giving them money, and, you know, you're always torn about that, because we have our country to build, we have our cities to build, and our roads to fix. But we're giving them money. Tell me, why isn't Germany paying money? Why isn't France? Why isn't United Kingdom paying money? Why aren't they paying money? Why are we paying the money? Is that a correct statement, Mike? I say, find out what the hell's going on. And I told that to all of my people, OMB. I said, I asked that question. How much is Germany paying? Why isn't Germany paying? Why is the United States always the sucker? Because we're a bunch of suckers. But that's turning around fast. But it makes it harder when stuff like this happens, because you want to focus, and you want to focus perfectly. Think what we could have done if the same energy was put into infrastructure, prescription drug prices. Think of what we could have done. And I'm now talking both sides. Think of what we could have done if we had the same genius, because it's genius. I will say, it's genius on the other side. Maybe even more so, because they took nothing and brought me to a final vote of impeachment. That's a very ugly word to me. It's a very dark word, very ugly. They took nothing. They took a phone call that was a totally appropriate call. I call it a perfect call, because it was. And they brought me to the final stages of impeachment. But now we have that gorgeous word. I never thought a word would sound so good. It's called total acquittal. Total acquittal. So I want to, if I could real fast, just introduce a few of the people. I have to start with Kevin. Man, did you do a job. Lucky you're there. Lucky you're there. Because it wouldn't have worked out. If you don't have the right people, I'll tell you, Kevin McCarthy has done an incredible job. And he loves his job, and he loves his country. Tell you what, Mitch and Kevin, they love what they do. Now, Mitch wouldn't even tell you he liked it. Say, Mitch, do you like it? I don't know. He's the greatest poker player, right? Kevin will say, I love it, right? And I will say that you're going to be Speaker of the House because of this impeachment hoax. I really believe it. I really believe it. And I'm going to work hard on it. I'm going to try and get out to those Trump areas that we won by a lot. And, you know, in 18, we didn't win. We just won 2 seats in North Carolina, 2 wonderful seats in North Carolina that were not supposed to be won. But I went and I made speeches, and we had rallies, and we did a great job, and we won. We took 2 seats. Nobody writes about that. If we lost them, it would have been the biggest story of the year. But we're going to go. We're going to do a job, and we're going to win a lot of seats. We're going to win a lot of seats. People are very angry that Nancy Pelosi and all of these guys, I mean, Nadler, I know him much of my life. He's fought me in New York for 25 years. I always beat him. And I had to beat him another time. And I'll probably have to beat him again. Because if they find that I happen to walk across the street and maybe go against a light or something, let's impeach him. So I'll probably have to do it again, because these people have gone stone cold crazy. But I've beaten them all my life. And I'll beat them again if I have to. But what they're doing is very unfair. Very unfair. So Kevin McCarthy has been great. So, a few names, right? And there'll be a few you forget. If you want, you can raise, and I'll say, great, love to have you, wonderful. But we're going to do the best we can. And I have my cabinet, but my cabinet's different. I appoint them. okay? I didn't see all of them helping so much. You know, they were running their various bureaucracies, right? Now, my cabinet's great, and they're all here. But today is the day to celebrate these great warriors, right? These are great warriors. They really fought hard for us. And so I'll start. Kelly Armstrong, North Dakota. Kelly, thank you. Great job. Great job. Jim Banks of Indiana. Jim, thank you. Great job. Andy Biggs. Where's Andy? Boy, oh boy, Andy. There's a guy. He's tough. I hear we're doing well in Arizona, huh? It's going good, yeah? I think so. I think I saw a poll that was very good. For me, I think we have to make sure Martha's going to do, I think Martha's going to do good. But we have some states that are going to be not easy. But Arizona's been great. And we're stopping illegal aliens from coming in. We're putting up walls. New Mexico, too, a state that's never been in play for Republicans, is totally in play, right? Nevada's really looking good. We're doing well. We're doing well. We're going to have a great... There's more spirit, I will say this. There's more spirit now for the Republican Party, by far, than the Democrats. You know, Mike Pence just got back from a place, a beautiful place that Chuck Grassley knows well, Iowa. And he was talking about this fiasco, the Democrats. They can't count some simple votes, and yet they want to take over your healthcare system. Think of that. No, think of that. But we also had an election out there, and we got 98% of the vote. We have two people running, you know, and I guess they consider them non-people, but they are running. I mean, one was a governor, one was a congressman. They're running. We've got 98% of the vote. And everybody from the media was saying, who are those crowds over there? You know, they expect it to be one of these competitive where everybody's running because they want to win, they want to win. And it was Trump, right, Mark Meadows? It was Trump. This was a Trump crowd. And a lot of my guys went there. They went to Iowa, and a lot of friends went there, and we had tremendous, they say the spirit for the Republican Party right now is stronger, I think, than it's ever been in the history of our country. I think it's stronger than it's ever been. And that includes honest Abe Lincoln. You know, a lot of people forget Abe Lincoln. I wish he were here. I'd give him one hell of an introduction. Right? But he was a Republican. Abe Lincoln, honest Abe. Bradley Byrne, Alabama. What a great place. Thank you, Bradley. A man who has been an unbelievable friend of mine and spokesman, and somebody that I really like. And I know, Kelly, you're going to end up liking him a lot. Something's going to happen that's going to be very good. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. But Doug Collins, where is he? Where is Doug? You have been so great. Thank you very much, Doug. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Really amazing job. A young man who is born with a great gene, because I know his father and how great a politician he was, but he's from Florida. Sometimes controversial, but actually he's not controversial. He's solid as a rock, and he's a friend of mine, Matt Gaetz. Matt? Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Great job. All right, this guy. So he's the NCAA, meaning a couple of years ago when he was in college, wrestling champion. NCAA, that's the big deal. That means in all of college, you're the champ, you're the best. His record was ridiculous. Nobody could beat him. And I see it, you know, every time I see it. When I first got to know him, Jim Jordan, when I first got to know Jim, I said, he never wears a jacket. What the hell's going on? He's obviously very proud of his body. And they say where he works out, you know, with the congressmen, senators, they work out, they say when Jim works out, even though he's not as young as he was, but he works out, the machine starts burning down. You know, it's just a different form of a workout than us, right, Sonny? And there he is. Look at that guy. But one day I'm looking, and he looks tough, and I'm looking at those ears. And I say, those ears have something going on there. I said, did you ever wrestle? Yeah, I did. But he doesn't talk. But I checked. This guy was a champion, top wrestler. And when I had I had all of the teams. And by the way, your Super Bowl champions are coming, I think next week or soon, very soon. And every one of them want to be here. And the coach loves us. The coach is great, Andy Reid. And every one of them want to be here. People love it. But we had all of the NCAA championship teams here. They had the golf, the basketball. They had every team here. And one of the teams was wrestling. The wrestling team was at Penn State. And Penn State won the title. They have a great team. And I walked up with Jim, and it's like I didn't exist. Those wrestlers, they grabbed him. They love Jim Jordan, and we love you too, because you are some warrior. A woman who became a star. We have a couple of women that became stars, you two. And I always liked the name of her, I liked the name, Lesko. I liked it. That's how I picked it. I liked the name. I saw that face. I saw that everything. They gave me cards. She had like 7 opponents, right? And you have no idea how much the public appreciates, how smart, how sharp you are. This I can't tell. I can't tell. They just said, she's really good. She's really talented. I said, let's go. We worked with her. She won her race. Tough race. It's no longer tough because what she does out there is incredible. Arizona loves her. But you were so incredible representing, I don't say me, representing our country and getting it out of this impeachment hoax. What you did was incredible. So Debbie, please stand up. Debbie Lesko. A man who I became very friendly with. I don't know why. Do you ever have where, I'll ask the media, certain people call, you take their calls. Other people call, if they don't have information, they won't take anybody's call. But other people call, and you don't. This is a guy, he's just a very special guy. His wife, I actually like better than him, to be honest. Because he doesn't know that I know that he didn't actually support me right from the beginning, but she did. And on my worst day, right? On my worst day, my worst, I won't tell you why it was my worst, but it was not one of those good days. She got on a bus, got many other buses, and women all over North Carolina, and they toured North Carolina. Well, Mark was back sort of semi-supporting another candidate, which he ended up leaving very quickly. I don't think you had a choice because of your wife. But thank her, and Mark Meadows, he's an extraordinary guy. I mean, the only problem is, I guess he's announcing, he'd only win by 40 points, but he's announcing that he'll be not running this time. You have somebody good to run? Somebody going to win your district by at least 20 points, please, okay? But he's a tremendously talented man, not just as a politician. As a human being, he's incredible. And during these horrible times, I mean, the way he worked, and Jim and all of you guys, the way they worked was so, it was like their life was at stake. So many. Ron DeSantis is another one. He worked so hard. Then he called me, he said, sir, I'd like to run for governor. I said, governor? I don't want you to run. I like you staying. No, I want to run for governor. And I said, well, if you have to, I'd like your support. I said, how can I support you? You're at 3. He was at 3. He had no money. Somebody else was at 38, and they had 22 million cash, right? I said, look, if it's important, I'll do it, because he's been another great warrior. And he's, by the way, he ran. I endorsed him. His numbers went through the roof. The man who he beat, who was expected to win easily, called me after the race. He said, you endorsed him, and it was like a nuclear bomb went off. There was nothing I could do. He never even spent his money. He saved it. But Ron DeSantis is another one. And now he's the governor of Florida. And by the way, he's a great governor. He's a very popular governor. His numbers are in the 70s, and he's done a great job. But Mark, I want to thank you very much. Fantastic job. Thank you very much. Mark Meadows. And Mike Johnson of Louisiana. Where's Mike? Central Casting, what a job. You can represent me anytime. You can represent me anytime. Thank you. What a job you've done. Thank you, Mike. And a man nobody's ever heard of except the other side. He's the other side's worst nightmare. This guy goes down into dungeons and basements. He'll find a document no matter what. He's the most legitimate human being. He's the hardest worker. He's unbelievable. He took tremendous abuse. The media and, the other side and the bad ones, the leakers, the liars, the dirty cops, they wanted to destroy him. They tried. They got close, but he wouldn't let it happen. And honestly, in a certain way, he was the first one. Wouldn't you say, Jim and Mark and everything? This was the first guy. He came out of nowhere. He's saying, these people are corrupt. He's still saying it. And he was unbelievable. Devin Nunes, he was unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's so true, Devin. He'd come in and say, I didn't even know him. I just heard there was this congressman who kept going into a basement, into files. He knew something was wrong. You felt it, right? And now we know a lot more than we knew then, right? You never thought it was as bad as it is. And hopefully we're going to take care of things because we can never, ever allow this to happen again. Scott Perry of Pennsylvania. Scott, thank you. Thank you, Scott. Really great. And you're doing very well over there, by the way. Just so your numbers. A man who is central casting. If I'm going to pick Perry Mason, I'm going to do a remake of Perry Mason. Other than Bill Barr, I picked this guy, but I have to say I picked Barr. I picked Barr first, right? John Ratliff, right? But I have to tell you, if we're doing a remake of Perry Mason, the man I get, there's nobody in Hollywood like this, John Ratliff, right? Stand up, John. Such a great lawyer. Incredible guy, incredible talent, but just a great lawyer, and we appreciate it. He gets on that screen, and everyone says, I agree. The other side folds up so fast. We'll probably be using a lot of you in the next year. But you have been fantastic, John. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. A man who's braver than me and braver than all of us in this room. He got whacked. He got whacked. My Steve, right? I went to the hospital with our great First Lady that night, right, honey? And we saw a man that was not going to make it. He was not going to make it. He was the doctor. And I told him, his wife, I said, she loves you. Why do you say that? Because she was devastated. A lot of wives wouldn't give a damn. A lot of wives would have said, hey, yeah. I said, how's he doing? Oh, she couldn't even talk. She was inconsolable. Most wives would say, not good. Listen, I'm going home now. But the doctor came in. The wife is like, she was a total mess. She was really devastated. And it really looked like he had a 25% chance. I think you set a record for blood loss. And Steve Scalise, honestly, I think you're better looking now. You're more handsome now. You weren't that good looking. You look good now. He looks better now. Can you believe it? I don't know what the hell that is. True. Better now. What a guy. And he was practicing. He was practicing for the baseball game against, I guess, the Democrats, right? And this whack job started shooting, hurt Rogers. I don't know if Rogers is here, but hurt a number of people, hit him, but really hit Steve. Steve was at second base. He was the second baseman. And he went down, and it was terrible. I mean, I saw the whole thing, and it was terrible. Unfortunately, you had two brave policemen with you because of your high position in Congress. You had two policemen, and they were amazing. The man and the woman. And they came, and they didn't have rifles. They were against supposedly a pretty good sharpshooter with rifles, good equipment, and all they had was a gun. And they started coming in from the outfield shooting. And they're so far away that a handgun is not preferred. And this guy has the rifle, and he's hitting people, and he was going to move up, and there was no out. I mean, if he would have been able to move up, there was no way to get out. The entrance was a single entrance way on the other side where he was. So everyone went into the dugout, ran into the dugout. But Steve was really hit badly in the stomach, and with a bullet that rips you apart. It was supposed to do that. It rips you apart. And these two people came charging forward, boom, boom, boom. And one of them, you know who? One of them, him, got the shooter, hit him, and then got him, killed him from long distance. It was amazing. If you didn't have those two people, you can imagine, right? You could imagine what would happen. So Melania and I went to the hospital that night, and he was in such bad shape, and he's been working ever since so hard. But 6 months ago, they had a baseball game at the Nationals Park, and I'm watching. And it's on television. And it's just, game, people, you want to win it, right? And Steve's at second base. The poor guy can't even walk. Do you remember Bobby Richardson for the New York Yankees? He was known for range, Louis. Range. He had the greatest range. If a ball's hit the shortstop, Bobby Richardson's the second baseman. Bobby Richardson would field the ball. If it's hit the first base, he'll throw it to the first baseman. He had unbelievable range. This was not Steve Scalise. Steve had no range. 1 foot, and he has to fall down, right? Because, he was trying to get better. I don't know who the hell put you on the field. And this is a true story. So the game starts, and the first pitch, Steve's standing at second base, and the guy is really in bad shape. And I said, this is terrible. A shot, ground ball shot, is hit to second. And Steve, I say, I didn't have time to think too much, but I said, this is not good. That ball is going toward him. And this guy stopped that ball, caught the ball. He's now laying down. He throws the ball to first base. He gets him out. I said, it's the most incredible thing. I've never seen athletically. I've never seen anything like it. Right?
Das ist die Rede des US-Präsidenten, gerade jetzt im Weißen Haus zum Ende des Amtsenthebungsverfahrens. Gestern ist er in den 2 Anklagepunkten freigesprochen worden im US-Senat mit Hilfe der US-Republikaner und gegen die Stimmen der US-Demokraten. Wir blenden uns an der Stelle aus, damit noch ein bisschen Zeit bleibt, um auch das Gehörte zu diskutieren. Im Wesentlichen hat der US-Präsident seinen Republikanern gedankt. Er zählt Republikaner auf, Anwälte, die ihm geholfen haben, dieses Amtsenthebungsverfahren durchzustehen und am Ende nicht des Amtes enthoben zu werden. Er sieht das alles zu Recht. Er ist der Meinung, so wie es gelaufen ist, ist es korrekt, macht aber den Demokraten schwere Vorwürfe. Am Anfang der Rede hat er gesagt, es fing mit dem Tag an dem ich die Rolltreppe hinuntergekommen bin, um meine Kandidatur bekannt zu geben. Sie wollen mir politische Schmerzen zufügen. Ich bekämpfe sie, ich gewinne immer wieder gegen sie. Das sind nur ein paar Worte des Präsidenten gewesen. Interessant in diesem Zusammenhang war doch auch, dass er wieder Deutschland erwähnt hat. Es ging um die Ukraine und die Finanzhilfen, die Amerika leistet für die Ukraine. Diese Finanzhilfen, 400 Millionen US-Dollar im letzten Jahr, hatte Trump ja zurückgehalten. Darauf basierte ja ein Teil der Ukraine-Affäre. Und er wirft Deutschland vor, Deutschland würde nichts zahlen. Die echten Zahlen sagen natürlich etwas anderes. Die Bundesrepublik hat seit der Besetzung der Krim durch Russland, also seit 2014, ungefähr 1,4 Milliarden Euro an die Ukraine gezahlt. Es gibt noch eine andere Statistik von der OSZE. Da kann man ganz deutlich sehen, dass die EU-Institutionen zu den größten finanziellen Unterstützern der Ukraine gehören. An zweiter Stelle die USA, vor allem eben auch durch massive Militärhilfe. Und dann an dritter Stelle kommt auch schon Deutschland. Also das nur ein Aspekt aus dieser Rede, der ein bisschen wahr, aber eben wieder nicht ganz wahr war. Vielleicht wollen wir einfach die Zeit nutzen, nochmal zu diskutieren darüber, was gerade gehört und gesehen worden ist oder was das für das Land bedeutet. Es gab ja vorweg schon Zahlen. Ich gucke einfach mal, was die Fragen sonst so waren. Eine Frage war, wollte Mitt Romney, das ist der US-Senator, der für eine Amtsenthebung in einem Punkt gestimmt hatte, wollte Mitt Romney nicht auch einmal Präsident werden? Das ist richtig. Mitt Romney war angetreten als Präsidentschaftskandidat, war unterlegen, 2012 war das, gegen Barack Obama. Und Mitt Romney hatte seitdem Schwierigkeiten mit US-Präsident Trump. Er hatte ihn 2016 nicht unterstützt. Dann gab es die Möglichkeit für ihn, womöglich das Amt des Außenministers zu bekommen. Und die beiden kamen wieder gut miteinander klar. Das sollte nun wieder beendet sein. Trump ist in seiner Ansprache gerade direkt auf Romney nicht eingegangen, hat aber den anderen Senator aus Utah, Mike Lee, gelobt. Der sei der wahre Vertreter der Bevölkerung und der Republikaner aus Utah. Mit Romney, mit seiner Stimme für eine Amtsenthebung, würde nun große Probleme haben. Eine andere Frage kam von Mia Engel auf Facebook. Es muss ja nicht immer die Schuld in einem strafrechtlichen Sinn vorliegen. Wie sieht es mit dem Vertrauen der Bevölkerung aus? Das ist tatsächlich ein wichtiger Punkt hier in Amerika. Ich hatte anfangs ja schon erwähnt, dass so stark dieses Verfahren hier in Washington verfolgt worden ist, so gering war zum Teil das Interesse innerhalb des Landes und die Menschen haben ein sehr festgefügtes Bild. Ein Ziel der Demokraten mit diesem Impeachment-Prozess war es ja, andere Menschen zu überzeugen von der Schuld des Präsidenten und das ist ihnen nur zum Teil gelungen. Sie haben es geschafft, die Menschen davon zu überzeugen, dass es einen Prozess, ein Impeachment-Verfahren geben muss, aber nicht davon, dass der Präsident des Amtes enthoben werden soll, das, was sie ja ursprünglich vorhatten. Und insofern sind die Anhänger der Demokraten frustriert, sehen sich aber nach wie vor in ihren Vorwürfen bestätigt. Und die Republikaner teilen das, was der Präsident gerade erklärt hat, vollkommener Freispruch. Der Präsident hat ja gerade noch mal die Tageszeitung hochgehalten, in dem eben sagt, Freispruch, er hält dieses Urteil jetzt wirklich für eine Genugtuung auch und sagt, die Demokraten hatten versucht, eine Wahl rückgängig zu machen. Eine weitere Frage kam von Lukas Meyer, auch über Facebook, wo Tagesschau gerade überträgt. Wie wird das Verfahren bei der Bevölkerung insgesamt aufgenommen? Der eine Punkt ist eben wirklich der, dass die Bevölkerung es weniger verfolgt, als wir es hier in Washington tun. Die Amerikaner aber auch sehr stark wissen, dass im November etwas auf dem Spiel steht. Nur wenn wir uns die jüngsten Zahlen zum Beispiel von den Vorwahlen in Iowa anschauen, bei den Demokraten, wo sie gehofft hatten, dass es eine hohe Wahlbeteiligung gibt, dann hat sich diese Hoffnung nicht erfüllt. Die Wahlbeteiligung in Iowa ist offenbar auf dem gleichen Niveau wie 2016, also bei der letzten Präsidentschaftswahl, bei den letzten Vorwahlen. Damals war es natürlich vor allen Dingen wichtig für die Republikaner, den Kandidaten zu finden. Da gab es viel mehr Kandidaten. Aber am Ende des Tages wird entscheidend sein, wer seine Basis besser mobilisieren kann. Es geht nicht so stark in Amerika darum, Leute auf die andere Seite zu ziehen, sondern in diesen Wahlen geht es sehr stark darum, die eigene Basis zu mobilisieren. Gehen die am Wahltag auch tatsächlich zur Wahl? Wer bleibt zu Hause? Und dementsprechend wird dieses Amtsenthebungsverfahren und der Ausgang jetzt von beiden Parteien sicher auch verwendet, um damit Wahlkampf zu machen. Ich schaue noch mal drauf, ob es noch eine Frage zu dem ganzen Thema Amtsenthebungsverfahren gab in den Kanälen. Ein interessanter Punkt war ja noch einmal die Argumentation eines der Anwälte von Trump, Dershowitz heißt er, ich glaube, ich hatte im Eingang Dershowitz gesagt. Dieser Anwalt hat argumentiert, alles, was im Interesse des Präsidenten ist, ist auch im Interesse des Landes. Und dementsprechend kann der Präsident seinen Freispruch wahrnehmen und kann sagen, alles, was ich tue, kann gar nicht gegen die Verfassung verstoßen, sondern es ist im Interesse des Landes. Das, glaube ich, wird uns noch weiter begleiten. Soweit unsere Übertragung dieser Ansprache von US-Präsident Trump. Mehr zum Thema Washington weiter hier auf den Kanälen von Tagesschau auf Facebook, Twitter und YouTube, im Radio und natürlich drüben im Fernsehen dann auch wieder in der Tagesschau. Vielen Dank.